Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode. I'm just past Limuru town, one of the coldest towns in the country, but not at the moment, of course. I'm sure you can tell that the sun is out. Limuru is also home to a million donkeys. There's a lot of them here. In fact, I'm told that another town that comes second to Limuru, as far as the number of the beast of burden is concerned, is a town in Kirinyaga County that goes by the name Moi. Anyway, that's a story for another day. Today I want to take you to a very small village town, but a historic one. It is also a highway town, very small, but quite significant as far as the history of the country is concerned. We will be getting there in a few seconds. In fact, it is just after this hill, about 200 meters or so. The small town is home to a lot of goose and ducks, and of course, ganders. Just take a look on my left, and you'll notice a lot of vendors selling them along the road. You can see another group of geese here. There are more than 30. I'm told a group of geese is called a gago. And so if you happen to visit Kenya and you love goose meat, now you know the place to get them. Well, I can see our town is just a few yards from here. I want to get inside and explore it. We want to see how it is faring after it lost her glory. In fact, I'll tell you how a former president messed its economy, killing it instantly. In fact, this is just a shell of what the town was in the 80s and 70s. I'm looking for a road that will get me inside. The town is one-sided. It is on my right. It goes by the name Nyambari, and the area is called Uplands. I'm sure most Kenyans old-timers will recall that name, Uplands. The town was quite popular in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. I will be telling you more about that and why the town was very popular. I'm sure you're noting the road is not that good, despite being next to the highway. And for your information, this is a very important road in this country. It goes all the way to Githunguri town and connects to Thika Superhighway at Ruiru town. So let's say if you're coming from Kisumu city or Nakuru, Naivasha, Kericho, let's say the larger part of the western Kenya, and you are going to Ruiru, you don't need to go all the way to Nairobi city. This is the road that you should use. Let's explore the small town and see how the people live and how businesses are faring, the social amenities. And apart from the town's history, I will also be telling you more about the real estate, the prices of land here, rent prices, and whether the locals are friendly to newcomers. But in the meantime, let me take this opportunity to welcome you to our YouTube channel, Village to Town TV, a channel that is dedicated to continue showcasing beautiful villages, towns, and cities across the continent of Africa. A special thank you note for the new subscribers. We are growing in crazy numbers. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing. It is absolutely free, but means everything to us. Now back to the video. And one thing I'm noting is that although the main road is in a pathetic state, that is the road that I told you it goes all the way to Ruiru, the feeder roads within the town are very nice. You can see like this one is super good. That's the fruit of devolution. Well, I never knew the town extends this much. There's a Deliverance church here, one of its kinds. I'm sure this Mabati structure within the church compound must be a school. It seems like the congregants have really invested. You can never downplay the role played by the church in this country, especially in education and health. I'm sure you can easily tell that this is a village town, despite having tarmac all around. There's a lot of empty spaces in between, but one thing for sure, businesses are thriving. Surely this is the back street. You don't expect much as far as trade is concerned. But this is not the case for Uplands. In fact, I can spot a guy selling beds and used mattresses on my left. There is also traffic in town, meaning the town is quite busy, despite being around 12 a.m. In fact, before I forget, let me give you today's date. It is March 13th, 2025, the year of our Lord. A super gorgeous day here in Uplands. I'm having a good time. And as usual, Mr. Lone Traveler is always alone. There are a lot of donkeys here. I can spot a few. The small town has a total population of 3,917 people. Quite small, and that is according to the Kenyan Bureau of Statistics, with a population density of 1,508 people per square kilometer. This is truly a village town. In terms of the gender distribution, there are 1,027 women, representing 50.1% of the total population. A simple majority, so they say, while men are the minority. There are 1,001 of males, which is 49.9%. They are playing catch up, which is normal in most towns and villages in this country, and so there's nothing peculiar about the town's gender distribution. I'm sure you have noted I'm back to the main road, the road that goes all the way to Githunguri town. But the Nairobi-Nakuru highway is just a few yards from here. I'm sure you can see some cars passing. But I want to go to the other side of the town. I've just spotted a bunch of old-timers on my left. This one have even constructed a sitting area. That must be the base, just sharing stories and probably reminiscing about the good old days. I'm told that if you want to know what is going on in the town, or you want to catch up with the local politics, who married who divorced, who paid dowry, who went bankrupt, and even how President Moi killed the town's economy, just spend some time with these old-timers. I'm also told that if you want to know how the ground is faring in terms of politics, like who is the incoming MCA or MP or even the president, just ask them and they don't miss. I'm sure that even in the small towns you come from, there's a special sitting area for the old-timers. A special shout out to Steve Mutumbu, all the way from the UK, and Dominic Ndungu in the US. Today they will represent all the fellow old-timers. There's another church here, the Full Gospel Church of Kenya. It has its roots in the United States, but it is quite big in this part of the country. That is in rural Kiambu and most parts of Nyandarua County. Geographically, the small town is in Lari constituency, but remember Limuru is not far from here. Well, Lari constituency is one of the 12 constituencies in Kiambu County, and it is the most rural constituency along one Gatundu North. Well, let's quickly check at the real estate segment before I give you a little history of the town. And I saw a piece of land, half of an acre to be precise, on sale. That was online before getting here, and it is in the middle of the town, and it was going for 6.5 million Kenya shillings. That's about 50,000 US dollars. Not cheap, but that's understandable. Commercial plots are quite expensive. I also saw another one in the outskirts of the town, a 50 by 100, that's a quarter of an acre, and it was going for 1.3 million Kenya shillings. and a 2 acres piece of land going for 12 million Kenya shillings. My quick maths tells me that that's about 92,000 US dollars. And for the investors, I'm sure you can get a rough idea of the cost of land in the area. That means an acre is roughly going for 6 million Kenya shillings. That's the market price, but it can go slightly higher or lower depending on some few factors, such as its proximity to the highway, and of course your negotiation skills. And for those who prefer renting, I saw a 3-bedroom on compound house going for only 15,000 Kenya shillings. I also saw a 2-bedroom, a semi-permanent house on compound going for 8,000 Kenya shillings, and a 1-bedroom going for 6,000 Kenya shillings only. Well, I must confess that this must be the cheapest place to rent a house, probably in the country. And remember, the town is not very far from the city, that is Nairobi. In fact, it is only 43.1 kilometers or a 49 minutes drive. And so you can do your quick maths and see the distance. Well, Limuru is the nearest town, and it is only 8.6 kilometers away, 14 minutes, which is not bad news to prospect investors. History goes that once upon a time, the Upland area was very industrious, and one of these industries was the Uplands Bacon Factory. It was established in the 1800s. It was quite old. In fact, had it survived, it would be 120 years old today. The factory was doing quite well. In fact, it put the town on the map. And because of this factory, Kenya was ranked among the top 3 suppliers of pig products in Africa. That means products such as sausages, bacons, were being supplied all over the world from this area, providing employment to thousands of Kenyans and millions of returns to pig farmers. And mind you, the bacon factory was fully owned by pig farmers from this area. So it was something like a cooperative or a society, and you can imagine how big they were reaping from supplying porks to this factory. But something happened in 1986 that made this area poor forever. This issue has been highlighted extensively by various media houses in this country. In fact, I saw an article by the Daily Nation, which is one of the leading newspapers in this country. You can go and check the article later. The title was Moi's Desire for Airport Led to Uplands Bacon Demise. Well, history goes that in 1986, President Moi's government wanted to construct an international airport in Eldoret City. The government identified a land owned by one Roland, and they asked him to surrender 3,000 acres, for which he would be compensated 310 million Kenya shillings. Remember, this is in Eldoret. I hope we are together up to that point. Well, the government paid the guy only 200 million Kenya shillings instead of the agreed 310 million Kenya shillings. And instead of clearing the balance, it handed to him not only the Uplands Bacon's land, but also the pig processing factory in Uplands. The article further indicates that at the same time, only 2,000 acres of land were surrendered to the government for the construction of the airport and the Moi University, instead of the 3,000 acres agreed. That's how the beautiful town of Uplands lost its glory. I want to know your views on the issue. An airport or a factory? Which one should be a priority? I was right here a few weeks ago when you did a video on Kijabe. This is the Great Rift Valley. I can also spot Mount Longonot. There is also a very small village down there. It goes by the name Escarpment. Quite small, with a total population of 2,028 people, where 1,001 are males, while 1,027 are females, which is 50.6% females and 49.4% males, while the population density is 288 people per square kilometer. It is also a major tourist destination. It is a stopover for both local and international tourists. And so if you want to see the Great Rift Valley, this is a spot to be. Anyway, let me leave it that. That was Uplands Village for you. I hope you enjoyed. And please continue watching the scenic video until the end. And the fact that you have watched this far, it means that you somehow likes what we are doing. So please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Village to Town TV, a channel that is dedicated to continue showcasing beautiful villages, towns, and cities across the continent of Africa. Remember, as we say, every village has a story. Also like the video so that it can be recommended to as many people as possible, and smash the notification bell so that every time we post, you will be among the first few people to be notified. Also keep the conversation going. Tell us, what do you think about today's video? Will you consider living in Uplands? And what are your thoughts on the government's decision to exchange a people's owned factory for an airport? Thank you so much, and God bless.